It's the last day of the first ever World Humanitarian Summit. 65 heads of state are in Istanbul to try to find solutions to humanitarian crisis across the world. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says the summit has been years in the making. Well, TRT World's Natasha Exelby joins us from the summit now. Natasha.
Paul, there have been many goals set for this summit, but in order to achieve them, it needs a lot of money. And according to the UN, they're about $15 billion short at the moment. I'm now joined by someone who is controlling those budgets, the Vice President of the European Commission, Kristalina Georgieva. Thank you so much for your time in what I can only imagine is a very busy schedule.
Thank you.
The grand bargain was announced by yourself yesterday. Can you take us through what exactly that plan entails?
It is about moving more resources into the hands of people in need and the humanitarian workers that are there to help them, and less in the back room, in the back offices. And we anticipate, when it is implemented, to generate additional $1 billion. It is a mutual accountability between those who fund humanitarian work and those who implement. Those who fund not only to give more, but to give better, more predictable money with less strings attached. Those who implement to be transparent, how they spend the money, and to be cost-conscious demonstrably, to work better together, not to compete, but to collaborate.
Many of the humanitarian groups we've been speaking to over the last day or so say that they're really struggling with donor fatigue. How are you going to manage getting more people to donate, because so much more money is needed?
Well, we are facing a exponential growth of people in need. If they were a country with a population of 130 million people, this would have been the 10th biggest country in the world, between Russia and Japan. And that is a catch-up situation. Never before the world has been so generous, and never before our generosity has been so insufficient. We spent $28 billion last year versus $2 billion in year 2000. So how to get people to give more? We have to broaden the donor base. Not today, 5 big donors fund 2/3 of humanitarian aid. This is not sustainable. We have to make sure that the private sector can come in. We are launching a very interesting project, a humanitarian impact bond that brings money to integrate handicapped people. But if you don't meet your obligation, your commitment, you have to give the money back. That kind of more exciting, more creative ideas are necessary. And some of those are already happening.
So if people are not seen as spending the money well, they then have to give it back, and that goes back into the pot.
Well, that is exactly the idea, to create pressure for results, because spending the money is not good enough. Reaching out people and addressing exactly what they need, this is good enough. We have seen here a fairly significant presence of the private sector. Hopefully that would go up to more private sector contribution, not just as charity, but with the skills and the innovation the private sector can bring.
And Mrs. Georgieva, there has been some criticism that this summit is nothing more than a talking shop, and that it will essentially achieve nothing. After 24 hours into it, is that how you view it?
I am not at all agreeing that this is to achieve nothing, because what we see here is a political energy generated to pay more attention to what is going to be the world's most significant problem. We are facing more fragility, and that means more people are destitute, their lives are destroyed. That is no more a local problem. No more somebody else's problem is just somebody else's problem, as we see in Europe, as it is very obvious here in Turkey. And what the summit does is to lift up today and in the future. We will have to find a way to extend the helping hand to those who depend on that to survive.
European Commissioner, the European Commission Vice President Kristalina Georgieva, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, Paul, if that money is then successful in achieving any of those goals, it won't be happening starting from today. It is likely to be years in the making.
Natasha, thank you very much.